So here's what we're looking at today. As some of you know, I've spent an inordinate amount of time studying Threads posts. I've calculated it at about 2,000 hours, and I've never seen one post that's gotten this many newsletter subscribers overnight. What we're going to do in this class is I'm going to show you the exact strategies and structure behind this post success. I'm going to give you a template you can copy and paste to replicate in your own words. You'll know how to create a version of this post that will capture attention, get more engagement on Threads, resonate with your people, but also, and arguably more importantly, convert that attention into real growth for any business you're building on top of Threads. So that's what you're going to have by the end of today. In terms of how we're getting to this point where you feel comfortable replicating this post, firstly, we'll go over what this perfect post is. Then we'll discuss why that post stands out. Then we'll go over what makes the perfect CTA. I'll give you the storytelling framework that the post used, and then we'll give you some actionable steps for your own perfect post. How is that sounding? Can I get some reactions? Sounding good? Danny's keen. Yaz is keen. Hassan's keen. All right. Tatiana's keen. Sam's keen. There we go. Love to see it. Introducing the perfect post. If you're in the cohort, this is already familiar and we've dissected a little bit, this is just going to be a more structured version. This is Angela's post. It was posted just under 2 weeks ago, a couple of days after Angela and I had one-on-one inside our paid cohort. Angela asked me about CTAs and what she could do to maximize their effectiveness and get more conversions. So conversions in the sense that someone sees a post and then there's a link to a newsletter and the person will click on that link and enter their email address. And the point at which they hit enter or say conversion in this context, it's important to understand the terminology here because you can also use conversions for a lead into a customer, but we're just talking about conversions from follower into a lead. Angela asked me what is the best way to go about this. I showed Angela this storytelling framework template, told Angela how to use it, and also suggested that instead of putting your CTA to your newsletter in your second post, so the top post here is a hook, and the second post in this long form post would be this one. And what Angela had been doing in the past was putting a CTA in the second post to put it at the end. And the rationale I use for that is to imagine here's a water bottle and then here's a imaginary cup. And basically, I want you to think about two different cups as value cups. This is Angela's value cup. This is the audience member's value cup. And every line here is a potential opportunity for Angela to pour into the reader's value cup because it starts off as empty. The more value you pour into the reader's value cup in a post, the more likely it is that at some point, the reader's value cup is actually going to start overflowing. They can't receive any more value. My argument is that it's at that point, they feel like you've given them so much value that they feel rude not going to subscribe. My argument to Angela was that when you just put a CTA in the second post of a longer form post, in the hook of the post, you've poured some value into the reader's value cup. And then what you're doing in this second post is asking them to literally deplete their entire value cup and pour it back into yours. And that's not how this works. You got to over deliver the value if you want to get anything in return. Does anyone have any questions about that right now? It's one of the most useful frameworks I've used for all of my long form threads. And it's worked out pretty well so far. And as we'll find out in terms of the specific statistics for this post, it's worked out extraordinarily well for Angela. If you've got any questions about this value cup thing, speak up now.
I was going to change it today. Now it just gave me more clarity on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to change it up and see how it goes, but now it makes sense.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I've seen many exceptions to this, but it's always worth testing. I'd encourage everyone to get into this mentality. Like, Sam, let's say you did go and post a CTA in the second one,
Yeah.
and then see how it goes in terms of conversions. Make sure you track
You know
what
what
the
I'm gonna
number
do?
is before and after.
I'm gonna try it today, and I'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah. See what it's like in, like, literally post the exact same thing in, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks' time, but
Yeah.
do it the way I've suggested and see what the difference is. Because
That's how I've been doing anyways.
so that's this idea of the value cup. It is important. And I'm just going to read it out in case someone is listening to this and can't see the screen. They told me it was just old age. There's nothing you can do, they said. Just keep him comfortable. I believed them. Even after I became a veterinarian, until one conversation with a client flipped my entire perspective and changed the way I practice medicine. 1 out of 6. That's the hook. When my first dog, Casey, started getting old, I felt something I now know is called anticipatory grief. I grieved his passing every single day, even though he was still with me. That grief kept me from enjoying our time together. I tried everything to help him feel better, but honestly, I didn't believe any of it would work. Years later, as a veterinarian, I became a rehab therapist to better serve senior dogs. One day, while working with a patient named Jazzy, her dad said something that stopped me in my tracks. Old age is no less valid a stage of life than puppyhood, he said. We're trying to enjoy it as much as we did when she was a baby. That simple statement made me question everything I thought I knew about the senior years. In that moment, something clicked. The senior years aren't just a stage of life, they're an opportunity. They can be the sweetest years we share with our dogs, and they deserve more than reactive care, treating problems after they arrive. That's when I decided to focus on building health proactively, because when senior dogs are healthier, problems occur later and less often. And when challenges do arise, they bounce back faster. Now, I help people do the same for their dogs. I teach them how to keep their senior dogs healthier and happier for longer, so you can enjoy your dog's golden years together with less worry and more love. I can't go back in time and do things differently with Casey, but I can teach people how to give their own senior dogs the best years of their lives. If you want to give your senior dog their best life, start here. Link. I made you and your dog a guide to spotting hidden signs of pain, and you can download it for free because the foundation of a happy, healthy life starts with spotting what they can't tell you. And your dog's golden years can truly be their best years. There we go. Danny, you're digging it. Okay. Before we delve into this post and start analyzing it, any thoughts whatsoever? Doesn't have to be specifically about conversions. What did you
I
think
think
about the story? Yeah, Tatiana?
there's a lot of emotions in the story, which is really good for storytelling, right? So
Yep.
I just have a question. Do you have to enter the number of slides that you're going to show, like from 1 to
Yeah.
6? Is it good to do this?
Great question. Honestly, I've never done it. It's kind of like a stylistic thing. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to, you can. Before seeing this post, I would have said that I personally wouldn't do it, but I've never had a post perform as well as this before. So there's no wrong or right way to do it.
Oh. I think it's really raw, right? Because if
Mm,
you had a dog, everyone lost a dog at a certain point in their lives, right? I had an old dog, a golden age dog, and she was really, really sick and she suffered a lot at the end. So this is totally relatable to me because many times the vet just said right at the beginning, we should just put her down and not give them any care at all. So it was really good. I really like that one.
yeah. Great words to describe it there, emotional and relatable. Hassan, any thoughts?
This story sounds like my childhood stories which my mother told me.
What was that,
So
Hassan?
I'm saying that this story sounds like the one my mother told me when I'm a little.
Well,
This, I
kids'
can say
stories
that
are
you
effective
are
for a reason.
very good.
Anyone else have thoughts about this? And then we'll start honing in the discussion about what made it work.
Even from the book, it caught my eye. You posted this about 2, 3 days ago, didn't you? On essay. I've been reading it like 2, 3 times. It's that nice. It just keep you hooked every single post.
This post specifically,
I have one another other question.
go for it,
Uh,
Hassan.
when we post a long form post on thread, does the second post also appear on people's feed For You page.
All right. That's actually a brilliant question. If it's okay with you, I'm going to save that until the end. If you can't make it until the end, I do have to stop on the hour today. So if you can stay until
It's
then,
fine. Fine.
second post in thread question. That is a great question, and we'll get to that. Anyone else have any thoughts about this post generally, or we can even get into some more specific discussion? Okay. So, some things that I want to highlight about this post that made it do really well. If you can recall from last week's class, we've got the hook, which is this top post. The whole point of the hook in a long form post is to open two loops. If you want to find out, just take a look at the classroom inside our community. College classes is the course name, and then last week's college class. And this will give you a full deep dive into what I'm talking about here. The first sentence has opened a loop here. They told me it was just old age. So this is very relatable, as Tatiana was saying, and it's also opening a story loop. And what this is doing is piquing people's curiosity. It's basically saying, if you want to know more about who told you it was just old age and what the old age is about, then I need to keep reading. And then this is further getting into this point here. And notice how at this point, it's not even talking about dogs. So this could be related to anyone. What Angela has done here so well is she's cast a really wide net because literally everyone can relate to the idea of aging. It was these first four sentences that helped capture the attention of almost 180,000 people. In the second last sentence, we get into this realm of pets. And what this very like Angela does here is she's mentioning the fact that she's a vet, and this is very effective proof. It's basically telling people you should listen to me because I'm a vet. Finally, we've got this last sentence in the hook, which opens the second loop. As I was saying earlier, we want to open two loops in the hook, the first sentence and also in the last sentence. And what the first sentence is doing, the whole purpose of it is to literally get people to continue reading until this last sentence. The purpose of this last sentence in the hook is to get people to continue reading until the end of the story. So it's a rehook, if you will. So that's what is effective about the hook part. And then we've got this point here, which I'll touch on again when we get to the perfect CTA. But now, and Hassan, you'll like this. We go into the story and we're told about Angela's first dog, Casey. Years later, we fast forward and go into this moment of epiphany, some insights and reflections about that moment. And then we go into the CTA. And what I want to touch on here is that, as Sam was saying earlier, it's smooth. It's so seamless and slippery in the sense that it's really hard to tell when we're actually being pitched at. You're really feeling like you're being pitched at. Like, I'd like you to think about how many people subscribe to Angela's newsletter through this post. Just think about how effective this has been. I'm going to read out the last couple of sentences again and think about at what point Angela starts. And when challenges do arise, they bounce back faster. Now I help people do the same for their dogs. I teach them how to keep their senior dogs healthier and happier for longer so you can enjoy your dog's golden years together with less worry and more love. I can't go back in time and do things differently with Casey, but I can teach people how to give their own senior dogs the best years of their lives. This works really well to create empathy with Angela. If you have a senior dog, it makes you want to trust Angela because she's being vulnerable. It's also boosting her credibility because it's saying what she does now. Like, now I help people do the same for their dogs. And it's also transitioning into a CTA. But at this point, you're not even thinking about it because it's so relevant to the story that there's no real departure. Then we get into the last one. If you want to give your senior dog their best life, start here. And this is a CTA. By this point, lots of people are sold on who doesn't want to give their senior dog their best life. I made you and your dog a guide to spotting hidden signs of pain, and you can download it for free. This makes what Angela is offering sound very personalized. I made you and your dog a guide to spotting hidden signs of pain. So I feel like I'm being, and you can download it for free. It's a no-brainer. And just as it starts to get a little too pitchy, Angela says, because the foundation of a happy, healthy life starts with spotting what they can't tell you. So just as it starts to get a bit too pitchy, then it opens it up to some broad statement about health and happiness that snaps you out of the pitch and back into the moral of the story. And then that's what this last sentence does as well. And it leaves you on a high note, a note of, oh, I've just read a great story and been offered something really helpful. And your dog's golden years can truly be their best years. The reason I wanted to touch on that slippery CTA again is because it reminds me of this quote from the Copywriter's Handbook. One copywriter describes her copy as a velvet slide, a smooth path leading the prospect from initial interest to final sale. Excess words are bumps and obstacles that block the slide. I want everyone to know that if you want to maximize your conversions, make your long form posts a velvet slide from the very first sentence in the hook to the very last sentence in the CTA. Think about that for a second. Let me know if you've got any questions. And now let's get into the stats. Firstly, not an easy task. I will be giving you a framework and a template to make it easier than it would be without it. And Danny just noted a few minutes ago, visually, as you read, first few sentences, her tagline, senior dogs, golden years, subconsciously ties a relationship to the open story loop. That's a very good point. I like that a lot, Danny. Stats revealed. Firstly, we'll take a look at followers. Any guesses in the chat or just speak up how many followers Angela got from this post alone? And just to remind you, 1.6K likes, 178,000 views. Any guesses?
Easy to understand followers.
Anyone else?
It's got to be in the hundreds, hasn't it?
One more guess and then I'll reveal. What was that, Sam?
Daniel said 423.
Sam, you wouldn't mind being my chat reader because I can't see it on the screen here. Danny, you've got it. It was about 500 overnight. And obviously that's insane. At the time, I think Angela had about 3,000 followers and that represented like 1/6, and that was overnight. Next question is, worthy of round of applause, right, Tatiana? Newsletter. For context, I've posted a lot of these long form threads, and the best results I've had has been about 80 new members into our community, including maybe 10 or so that I might have rejected their application. So call it 90 tops for one post. That's my best. How many newsletter subscribers do you think this one got in overnight for Angela?
I don't know.
I want to get everyone to just give me their answer except Yaz because she knows how many.
Well, perhaps not that high if they think about it. Maybe 10% of the followers possibly subscribe, so 40 or so.
Hey, Hassan, your microphone is breaking up a bit. Could you check your headphone connection or your connection, please?
I'm saying 100 or less.
Who else have we got? Tatiana,
Daniel got
any guesses?
177. Daniel got 177.
Okay, Danny's got 177. Precise again.
I'll say around 50,
50?
10% of the new followers.
All right, you ready for this?
Oh, wow.
1,300 newsletter subscribers overnight.
That's amazing.
This is why I got goosebumps. When Angela told me on a call, because she messaged me, this was a couple of days after we had a call about doing this and using this strategy. Angela just did it and then woke up the next morning, saw these results, and then messaged me, was like, we got to hop on a call. And I was like, my anxious brain was like, shit, what happened? Then we hopped on the call and she told me these results and I was speechless. That's why we're talking about it today, because these results, this is why I call it the perfect post. I've never seen a post get more conversions than likes in the CTA post itself. Looking at the conversion rate here, the ratio of how many likes the hook got, because that is almost without fail the post in a long form thread that gets the most likes, to how many conversions it got. I think the percentage is 81.25%. Obviously, it's not 100%, so technically it's not perfect, but I've never heard of anything that comes close. This is why it's
insane.
It's like,
If you think about the effort that it takes to subscribe to a newsletter compared to just following somebody, and how little we want to give our information across, that is nuts.
yeah, that's the main conversion that is still very mind blowing as well, as you pointed out, Marcus. It's like 500 followers, amazing.
Yeah.
Like 2.5x that for the conversion rate. It's just crazy. And like I was telling Angela, you've been a part of the community for a while now, and we're just cracking 1,400 after like 9 months. And actually, it's probably a year at that point, because I'd had a few newsletter subscribers before. So to get something like that overnight is absolutely nuts. Now, if it's okay with you, I'm going to show you how you can do it. Yeah, we'll put that over there. I will put the link to this Notion in the chat. Save the link for the time being. The recording for this will be available over the next few days, but just make sure you steal the link in the meantime. So it's published. Okay, so leading to the perfect CTA. The context for this perfect CTA is that I got Threads GPT, which is still in beta, to analyze 10 high-performing long-form posts that achieved extraordinary conversion rates. Obviously, the one that we've just looked at, Angela's, was the best, but I'd say the worst one was probably my best one, which was like, 80 to 90 new members. So they were all extremely good. It was the best of the best that I've seen. Then I asked what the key ingredients were for all of them. That's these three. You can't unsee these three ingredients in a top performing CTA. First one is relevance. The second one is specificity. And the third one is seamless integration. I'm actually going to reorder the last two. This is the order of importance. First one is relevance. Second one is seamless integration. Third one is specificity. For relevance, you need to make sure that the CTA is directly tied to the substance of the post. So if Angela had written here, like we're talking about senior dogs that are aging, right? Your senior dog spot hidden signs of pain is pretty much bang on. However, imagine if Angela's CTA was, I made you and your cat a guide to spotting hidden signs of pain, and you can download it for free. I guarantee you the results would have been catastrophic, because even though it's relevant to pets, it's not relevant enough to dogs, because you've literally just named another household pet. So that's relevance. Then we've got the seamless integration, and this is really referring to the velvet slide we discussed a moment ago. And what this is getting at is that the CTAs are so well woven into the narrative that they don't feel like a separate pitch, but a natural extension of it. This reminds me of one of my favorite sayings when it comes to using lead magnets and whatnot on threads. Don't promote on threads, help. Notice how in this CTA, the whole time, Angela is literally just wanting to help me and it doesn't feel like a pitch or a promotion. It feels like Angela just wants to help. Finally, specificity. Provide clear problems highlighted in the post, make them actionable and compelling. So the problem that Angela has described is losing a senior dog. When they die, as Angela mentioned, it's anticipatory grief. And this is a really important point. What Angela's done here is planted this seed of, you probably have thought about the fact that your dog will die someday. And if they're a senior dog, they'll probably die soon. Anticipating their death is hard to deal with. And that's a problem, right? Tell me one problem that isn't more intense and painful than grief. That's a really important point. But then Angela frames her offer as a solution to that anticipatory grief. Because what this is doing is it will help spot hidden signs of pain, which is implying that you won't see them unless you get this guide. And therefore, it will sort of solve that problem. And that's where it's so specific to the problem that the post highlights or agitates. And those are the three ingredients of a perfect CTA: relevance, seamless integration, specificity. Any questions about those three ingredients before we move on to the framework?
Lenny, how can we find
yeah.
ChatGPT?
Yes, that is still in beta. The people in the cohort, our paid cohort at the moment, we're all testing it out. And we're still figuring out how we're going to make it available, but we'll keep you posted. All right, everyone happy with the perfect CTA and those three ingredients? Cool. Yep, sweet. Next part, we've got the storytelling framework. To ease into this, I've identified three types of long form posts you can write on Threads: teacher, storyteller, and synthesizer. Teacher is when you'd explain some process step by step. Storyteller is what we've seen in Angela's post. You tell a story. And synthesizer is when you compress a bunch of learning and information that's taken you a long time to understand into one concise, bite-sized post. The gift of the post is, to the person that reads it, time. You're saving them a lot of time. So three types of long form posts: teacher, storyteller, synthesizer. This is a template you can use for creating storyteller posts. And I'm going to relate it to Angela's post. AJ, welcome, the man in the shadows. We have the hook here, and we've got 3 points for the hook. You want to begin with a relatable struggle. Relatable struggle is old age. Start in the middle of an intriguing moment. There's nothing you can do, they said. Highlight an unexpected or emotional struggle leading to a significant shift. Just keep him comfortable. So we're talking about dying and old age. The unexpected or significant shift is until one conversation with a client flipped my entire perspective. Then we go into the next mini post, which is where Angela talks about her first dog, Casey, and how she felt something that's called anticipatory grief. She paints a brief picture of what led to the hook moment, and she's showing why the coming change is significant. Because here, Angela says, I didn't believe any of it would work. I'd already given up. So this is saying that what comes next, if Angela feels as though she shouldn't give up, it's a big deal. And then we go into the next mini post. Build tension. Introduce the obstacles faced. I became a rehab therapist to better serve senior dogs. One day, while working with a patient named Jazzy, Angela doesn't build the tension too much in this next post. Skip straight to the 5-second moment. One day, while working with a patient named Jazzy, her dad said something that stopped me in my tracks. Old age is no less valid a stage of life than puppyhood. That simple statement made me question everything I thought I knew about the senior years. In that moment, something clicked. The senior years aren't just a stage of life, they're an opportunity. And this is how the realization impacted Angela's perspective. The senior years aren't just a stage of life, they're an opportunity. Angela ties it to a broader lesson. They can be the sweetest years we share with our dogs. She shows the significance of this and makes it relatable to others. They deserve more than reactive care. Angela decided to focus on building health proactively. When senior dogs are healthier, they bounce back faster, etc. Summarize how the turning point changed your life. And this is where it's a really smooth and slippery velvet slide into a CTA, because Angela's saying Angela helps people do the same for their dogs. Angela teaches them how to keep their senior dogs healthier and happier for longer. And then she explains how it actually acts differently now. And then she connects the change to a universal takeaway. So you can enjoy your dog's golden years together with less worry and more love. And then she goes into CTA 1, which is where she does that CTA that we've already dissected. You can include another CTA, which would be a separate mini post below this, which is basically follow me, but it's a CTA that's framed as a benefit. So don't just say follow me. Say what I normally do is, like, if you want to read more Threads growth posts like this, follow me so you don't miss out on the next one. Just say something that gives them a reason to follow you that is in their best interest. And that's it. So that is the storyteller template. Everyone liking the sound of that so far? Looks pretty good. Makes sense. Sam's got thumbs up in real life, which I love. Tatiana's got some applause emoji. AJ, thumbs up. Love it. Sweet. Okay, so now how to put it to use. And this is almost exactly how Angela did. She's got Threads GPT, but I imagine it will be still very good with just ChatGPT itself. So what you want to do, and this is, again, like these parts of what Angela did and what I've done beforehand, is, okay, so we've got ChatGPT here, and Sam should be doing this part of the lesson. We've got the button here. It's the voice to text button or transcribe voice. So you just click it, it will start recording me. And then once you click it again, it will stop and transcribe everything. What you do here is brain dump an entire story while using the storyteller template to guide how you tell the story. For instance, I'll look at the hook, hit record, and then I read this point here about, begin with the relatable struggle. So I say, and this is one of my favorites, I started on Thread with 17 followers. I almost didn't post my first thread because I had a crippling fear of being cyberbullied again. But then I met someone on Threads who changed the rest of my life with 3 words. Notice how I'm using these as prompts for how I tell my story. And obviously, it's just a transcription. So it doesn't matter if you're pausing for like a minute in between, it will just put it into text really nicely. And then once you've told the story by following all of these prompts, you just say, turn this into a long form post on Threads using the following template, and copy and paste this template. Then once it's generated its output, tell it to rewrite it using a 3rd grade reading level. Simple content reaches the most people. And regardless of how smart or not smart people who are reading Balloon your post are, everyone appreciates simplicity. Even the most intelligent person in the world appreciates simplicity on social media. So you're benefiting everyone by using a lower reading level, and it should be a maximum 3rd grade, no higher. That's super hard, but ChatGPT will help you do that. This is one that Yaz and I and a few others in the cohort learned like 12 hours ago, which is extremely valuable. We learned this from Taylor Simmons, who runs a $500,000 per year ghostwriting agency. He's got 90,000 followers on X, 8,000 on Threads. He's in a mastermind with Dan Coe. He just knows his shit, and he's been doing it since 2021. And he actually suggested for us to use this prompt to, as it says here, enhance emotional impact, highlight the stakes, and make the pain visceral. As Tatiana pointed out at the beginning, Angela's story, it's emotional and relatable. For better or worse, emotional content will do 100 times better than logical content on any social media. And that's what this prompt will help you incorporate. I've tried this. Angela's tried it. A lot of other people in the cohort that we're running have tried it. Honestly, I don't know of any more effective, easier way to create a great long form post on Threads. This is the easiest and most effective way, period. And if anyone finds something more effective, I am all ears. Any questions? I know that was a lot. We've actually got a question from Hassan that I did say I'd come back to, and I know he's left, but maybe he listens to the recording. So picture in picture.
So I just have a question. Can I just use the recent long form thread that I created and use this prompt to make it better?
Yeah. If it's not necessarily a story and maybe it's more an actionable insight, you could just tell it. It does depend on the content of the post. But if you think there are enough story elements within it, you could try just telling Chat.
It was more like a steps to get the results, but there was a little bit of storytelling involved because the post is going really well. I think it resonated with a lot of people. So now I'm thinking about adding more storytelling elements to it, right? So
Yeah.
because I gave people like the steps, and now it's just like, because people are asking me the behind the scenes story actually, right? They don't
Right.
believe that was possible, right? So they're like questioning, but how did you do it? How did you come up with this? What happened, you know? So if I had a little bit more of storytelling now to give people a context, you know, what that happened that way, maybe I get better results. So I'll try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. And just to fill you in on how I created this template, I didn't just pull it out of thin air. We have about 400. I trained ThreadGPT on 420 viral posts. I told it to look at all of the story long form posts among those. Then I used a framework from Storyworthy, which is a great book on telling captivating stories. And I told it to basically combine the best elements of both into a template, which is this storytelling template. So it's proven. Like this stuff is timeless. I've just adapted it to a format that works on Threads. You can rest assured knowing that this stuff works. The framework itself works. It's just a matter of how you go about using it. As I was saying, these actionable steps make it as easy as possible. I might need it here because Hassan said about the second post in the thread question. Does anyone remember what the question was specifically? Yes?
It was, when you're doing a thread, does the second mini post under the initial thread show on the For You page to other people? And I believe the answer to that is yes, but I'm not sure.
Right. Let's have a look. This is honestly one of the questions that I have no idea about. And I've been meaning to ask people this very question for a while. So let's just take a look at this. Is one that I posted about an hour ago. That doesn't really help. All right. Well, maybe okay. If we use this as any basis, then as we can see here, this is the thread, the hook, and then here is the second post, and it does appear. I see. I'm sure as I'm looking for one, I won't be able to find one because that's just how it goes. But there'll be a long form post here somewhere where the second post doesn't actually pop up. Yeah, isn't that the way? As soon as I start looking for one, I can't find one. Oh, okay, here we go. Juari. So this one is an example of where it doesn't pop up. Find out how I help athletes perform pain-free. And then it pops up here. So I think it's because what Juari is doing here is actually posting the hook as its own separate post and then posting everything beneath it as a comment or a reply. And it just pops up as it does there. However, I tried doing that a couple of weeks ago and it still came up as this. I'm at a loss for this one. If anyone has any insights to share.
I just looked on my feed to see with other examples, and there's a guy in our group on threads called Uplifted Recovery.
Yeah.
On his thread that he's done around 51 minutes ago, it didn't show up the underneath part on the feed either. So maybe it doesn't on the home feed, but then when you're on their personal, it does.
Yeah, as you were saying, it doesn't pop up on the feed, but it does on the profile.
Yeah.
I wanted to get another example of that, but I think it's hard to just get an example. Actually, yeah, let's have a look at Juari's. We'll have a look at one more and then got to bounce. There you go. We just looked at this one. It was on the feed. It showed up as the top post. But then when we go on his profile, it shows up as the second one as well. I can't tell you how long I've been wanting an answer to that. Well, I can. It's been 17 months as of yesterday. So I'm super stoked to finally get an answer to that because I'd only see my posts on my profile. I'm glad that's resolved. Okay.
But it's not always though, because I have 3 accounts. It just changes over and over again.
Oh, really?
It's just like if you have a link or an image on a thread, then it will show you the next thread on your home feed. If you don't have any tags, links, or images, most likely you will only see the top post. Every time there is a link, tag, or image, the second post will show up on your feed.
I was feeling really good about that closure, Sam, and then you had to go and throw that spanner in the works.
But that's what I've noticed anyway.
Yeah, it's good to know. All right, well, I got to bounce. if anyone does get a sort of definitive answer about that, I would be very grateful if you posted it in our community, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who wants to know.